Okay, hello, good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here in this open access infrastructures panel. And I would like first to really thank very much the organizers for really thinking about this panel and for giving me the opportunity to be the moderator of 4 excellent presentations that we have ahead. But before really introducing them, I would like to make a short introduction, a short presentation of ideas, of personal ideas, on really what I think is the role of the new marine infrastructures, the role of those new open access marine infrastructures, and how I believe, how I think, and how I see that they are changing very much and almost completely, I would say, our view of the oceans and of the marine ecosystem. And for this, what I thought, instead of preparing many slides, what I thought is that I would like to ask you to come with me and somehow take a journey, a trip, trying to explain to a friend, a colleague, a scientist from another discipline, what we do and why we do what we are doing. And in this, the first question, of course, from a colleague, a friend, would be, okay, what's your goal? What are you doing? Okay, basically what we do is we are trying to understand how the ocean works, and we are essentially trying to understand then also how the marine ecosystem works. And we basically, and why you do that? Okay, well, basically we do that because we want to increase our knowledge, and also because we have as scientists also some responsibilities with society, and essentially we want to advance towards a more reliable and science-based and sustainable management of our oceans and coast. Okay, my friend then would say, okay, that's nice, that's very important for society, and that sounds very, very exciting. And as a scientist, he would say, well, you then probably have, if you have to manage a system such as the ocean, which I don't know anything, but it sounds relatively complex, you then probably have baseline data. Oh my God, no, we don't really have baseline data. Or we only have baseline data at specific places, and actually we have baseline data at specific places which are, in most cases, not really long enough. Oh, my friend would say, oh, well, that's interesting, because you have a challenging problem. Well, if you don't have baseline data, or not as long as you would like, then I'm pretty sure that you then have at least synoptic data. And then I would turn to my friend and say, no, sorry, we don't either have synoptic data. We have data from ships that have gone through different cruises from many years, and we really don't have either baseline data. And that's where, and that's why I believe that research infrastructures and open access research infrastructures are strongly needed, because we need a change of monitoring strategies in our understanding and our work of the ocean. And essentially this comes back to the system. The system we are playing, the ocean, is a very complex system. And I always like to quote Einstein, who was saying always, things have to be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And one of the clear dangers of oceanography is oversimplification. And this is very much related to the strong pressure that all our young people, all our postdocs and all our young people are having with publishing. I'll come back to this issue, because we are running too fast. And this is not always very, very good. So the risk, I was saying, is oversimplification. And we then need to concentrate on monitoring, and monitoring at the different scales, because the complexity of the oceans comes from the variety of scales that the ocean, that exist in the ocean. And more than the scales interactions. That's the real challenge, the interaction between all the different scales. Then my friend would say, okay, well, but how have you done so far? In these last years, how well have you done? And then I would say, okay, well, we've done pretty well, essentially in looking at the large scale. If we look at the large scale in the ocean, thanks to international coordination, very well thought and well-established international coordination in the areas of satellites, and also with programs such as the Argo program, with more than 3,000 floats profilers around. There has been a real advance, and now after those international programs, we are able to really say quite nicely what's the ocean state, what's the present day ocean circulation. Okay, that's good for the open ocean and for the large scale. There's just one single problem, is that we don't live in the open ocean, we live in the coast. And the coast is much more challenging, much more difficult. It's really a three-dimensional environment. And that's where really the new technologies from the last 5 to 10 years, actually 5 years, are coming into place. Because the new technologies, and I'm just talking about gliders, but also cables, different types of robots, all kinds of platforms, the new Argo profilers with biogeochemical sensors, etc. All those new technologies, what they are doing is that they are completely changing our view of the ocean. Different countries, several countries, Australia, Canada, the US more recently, have really seen this very important technology change, technology breakthrough. It's a major breakthrough that technology is allowing. Just an example, gliders today can and allow really to monitor the mesoscale, and not only the mesoscale, but also the submesoscale. And that's really the scales that matter. The mesoscale and the submesoscale are the scales that matter for the ocean variability in terms of the physics, but also, of course, in terms of the ecosystem response. And these new technologies, therefore, are leading us to two major paradigm changes. One is in ocean observation, from single platform to multi-platform observing systems. And the second is on data availability, from data that were available only to the team of the crews and available after a couple of years outside of that team, to data that are right now available to the whole scientific community and the whole society, almost in quasi-real time, and data that in many cases are also available with quality control and standard formats. So this open access is really opening our science to society in a way that could not have been anticipated. So, and there are problems, of course. There are certainly problems for this, but I see a very clear trend that is going to be emphasized in the different presentations. The real challenge really right now is these multi-platform observing and forecasting systems at specific choke control points in the different oceans. I like to quote here what John Delaney from OI in the US always says recently, and it was recently also repeated in a Nature paper a couple of months ago. John is always saying recently, a single ship can only be in one place at one time. And it is time today, and now we need to be at present in multiple places and in multiple times. And that's the real challenge, and that's really what we can do now. And this is also along the same lines as another good friend, somebody that has interacted very much with Mediterranean teams, was saying these kind of things also recently, 2 years ago in a Royal Society paper. Harry Bryden was insisting on this. In the last decade, Harry was saying in a very nice paper in 2002, what we have learned is just really how the ocean works, how the ocean circulation is. The challenge for the next decade is really to establish ocean variability. And that's very important. And this ocean variability is what really matters, especially at the coast, is what society is requesting to us. And that's where the new technologies come really into place. Let me just remind you in another important paper that Harry was commenting, and that was also highlighted recently in Science. The data from the rapid array in the Atlantic Ocean showed a 30% decrease in average strength in 2009 from the total current transported to the north, a 30% annual decrease. No one single model had ever seen that, and no data were ever observed about something like this. And those are data from 2009, okay? And that's, I insist, recently outlined in Science. So the new technologies have to be used. They have to be used thoughtfully, and this is really opening a new science for us. A new science that Harry Bryden was also saying has to be more thoughtful, more careful. We are running too fast. I also want to say this very clearly. I don't know how many of you have seen The Economist from last week. But The Economist from last week, in the front cover, it was clearly said how science goes wrong. That's very bad. That's very bad for all of us. And what the editorial from The Economist was saying is that in biotechnology, they have checked, and half of the published research cannot be replicated. That's running too fast. We have to be more thoughtful, make better use of the technologies, be better coordinated, and be sure that we advance really in the right direction. In summary, I want to say that I think it is very clearly time for a new oceanography where the research infrastructures, the open access research infrastructures, are really the key. And the challenge is integration. The challenge is integration of multi-platforms, and the challenge is also integration between the different countries, definitely. And back to some scientific thoughts. The challenge really is to monitor the variability that the technologies now allow us. So really the first challenge is to monitor at the right scale, so to monitor the meso and the sub-meso scale, to resolve the sub-basin and the basin and the seasonal and interannual variabilities, to establish then, as a third point, the decadal variability, understand the biases, and correct them. So it is time for a very clear change of focus. Until now, oceanography has focused on the large scale. Now, I think technologies allow us to focus really pretty much on the small scales and to go from small to large scales. So, and this is also what society is requesting us. If we talk about Horizon 2020, or if we talk about framework implementation of different type of European directives, that's what society is requesting also. So I think we have to reverse focus, and I think this new oceanography is just upfront us. And we need definitely this new oceanography is strongly linked to the marine infrastructures, to the open access of all those marine infrastructures. And I want to say, to end up this short introduction, that the Mediterranean community is very well positioned internationally. The Mediterranean community can really take the lead internationally on this new type of oceanography. From the operational side to the climatic variability side, passing in between by the ecosystem changes, the new technology implementations, or the data availability. In all those topics, in all those key elements of this new strategy, the Mediterranean community is really upfront. I believe we are ready for this change, and I believe that research infrastructures can and play this key role in being able to respond to science, to technology, and to society, to respond to society needs. So I'd like to finish just saying that it is time for a new oceanography. It is time for a new oceanography more open and more open for and to society. And as an example of this, I think we have very nice 4 presentations here in this panel. The first one will be by Angelo Camerlenghi. After it will be who will be presenting, Angelo will be presenting the opportunities related to ODP. Alexander Sousek from ISA will present us his ideas on the satellite data for maritime science and applications. Then we will have Miro Gacic presenting the Medship initiative. And finally, Maurice Herral will present some ideas on the way on how to construct new Mediterranean observatories in response to climatic changes. So I think if you want to come, please, Angelo, thank you.